Sometimes the person you cannot forget is not the person who actually existed. It is the person your mind completed. A few moments of tenderness became proof of loyalty. One honest conversation became evidence of depth, and every empty space was filled with the future you needed them to represent. Then reality contradicted the story, and you called the collapse heartbreak. From a Jungian perspective, this is projection, not stupidity, not weakness, but the unconscious placing its own image onto another human being. The dangerous question is not only who were they, it is, what did I need them to be? By the end, you will be able to separate three things: who they were, what you added, and what still belongs to you. That question moves the center of the story, from the person who disappointed you to the invisible work your own mind performed around them. You may discover that the relationship ended once, but inside you, an imagined relationship has been ending for months. And unlike the real person, the imagined one does not leave easily. Projection is an ordinary psychological process. It is not a diagnosis, and it is not proof that your feelings were fake. It happens when something within us, an emotion, fear, desire, expectation, or unlived quality, is experienced as if it belongs entirely to someone outside us. You usually do not decide to project. While it is happening, you do not experience an interpretation. You experience reality. You do not think, I may be placing depth onto this person. You think, this is the only person who has ever understood me. You do not think, their distance has activated an old fear of being replaced. You think, if I can make them choose me, I will finally know I am enough. You do not think, they represent the freedom I have denied myself. You think, they are the reason I feel alive. The projection arrives dressed as recognition. It can feel as if you have met someone you already know, even when you know almost nothing about them. Their face feels familiar. Their presence seems charged with meaning. A message becomes a sign. A coincidence becomes destiny. A silence becomes a mystery you feel compelled to solve. The intensity appears to prove the importance of the connection, but intensity does not always measure intimacy. Sometimes it measures how much unconscious material has been activated. This is why someone can occupy your mind far beyond the actual depth of the relationship. You may have spent only a few months with them, yet feel as if you have lost an entire world. Psychologically, you did not lose only a person. You lost the world that formed around them. To see how this happens, separate the experience into three layers. The first layer is observable fact, what literally happened without interpretation. They listened carefully during one difficult conversation. They held your hand. They told you they missed you. They spoke warmly about a possible future. These events may have been real. The second layer is conclusion. What did your mind decide those events proved? They understand me completely. They are emotionally safe. They would never abandon me. They are finally ready for commitment. They feel exactly what I feel. The third layer is emotional meaning. What would it mean about you, your past, or your future if those conclusions were true? I am finally chosen. I am no longer too much. The loneliness is over. My patience has been rewarded. The love I give can heal someone. My life is about to begin. Fact, conclusion, emotional meaning. The suffering begins when these layers fuse. Then questioning the conclusion feels like denying the fact, and losing the person feels like losing the emotional meaning attached to them. They did listen to you, but listening once did not prove permanent safety. They may have felt tenderness, but tenderness did not guarantee capacity. They may have imagined a future in that moment, but a moment of imagination was not a mutual decision to build one. Projection does not always invent qualities from nothing. Often it enlarges something real until the visible fragment is forced to carry an entire invisible story. The person may truly truly be intelligent, kind, wounded, beautiful, or perceptive. The distortion begins when a real quality becomes evidence for qualities you have not yet witnessed. They showed vulnerability, so the mind declared them honest. They desired you, so the mind declared them capable of loving you well. They needed you, so the mind declared the bond irreplaceable. A real quality became the hook. Your unconscious supplied the rest. The less you know, the more room imagination has to work. Ambiguity becomes a canvas. Distance protects the image. Inconsistency keeps you searching for the version you saw in the beginning. You are no longer relating only to a human being. You are trying to recover a revelation. This is one reason an inconsistent person can become psychologically consuming. Their absence leaves space for fantasy. Their uncertainty prevents resolution. Their occasional warmth keeps the projected image alive. If they were consistently cold, you might leave. If they were consistently available, you might relax. But when affection appears and disappears, the mind remains suspended between hope and loss. You begin studying every detail. A late reply becomes evidence. A softer voice becomes hope. One night of closeness erases a week of neglect. You stop responding to the whole pattern. You collect the fragments that preserve the image. This does not mean the other person is innocent of wrongdoing. They may have lied, betrayed you, exploited your hope, or deliberately kept you uncertain. Your projection did not cause their behavior, and understanding your unconscious participation must never become a way of excusing harm. Two truths can exist together. They may have misled you, and you may have continued protecting the image after contradictory evidence appeared. They may be responsible for breaking trust, and you can become responsible for no longer abandoning your perception to preserve attachment. Responsibility for your projection is not responsibility for their conduct. It is responsibility for what you do once reality becomes available. Projection becomes powerful because it is rarely only about romance. Perhaps this person represented the love you were denied. Perhaps their approval felt like a verdict on your value. Perhaps being chosen by them would reverse an old humiliation. Perhaps saving them would prove that your devotion has power. Perhaps their potential allowed you to avoid confronting your own unlived potential. The mind's most convincing illusion is not always a lie about another person. Sometimes it is a disguised truth about you. Maybe they seem to own the courage, tenderness, or aliveness you had not yet permitted yourself to live. Their presence did not create those possibilities. It gave them a face. This is why losing them can feel like losing part of yourself. The energy, beauty, confidence, possibility, or meaning that appeared around them seems to disappear when they do. The days become colorless. Music sounds different. Familiar places feel emptied of significance. You tell yourself this proves how extraordinary they were. But another possibility is more unsettling. What if some of the light you saw around them was your own light reflected back at you? Before continuing, name the quality that light represented. What if you were not only mourning who they were? What if you were mourning the person you imagined becoming beside them? There is often a hidden future inside heartbreak, a home that was never built, conversations that never happened, a healed version of them who never arrived, a healed version of you who seemed possible only through their love. You are grieving events that did not occur, yet the grief is real because the psyche had already begun inhabiting them. Facts alone rarely end this attachment. Your friends can list every contradiction. You can remember every broken promise. You can understand intellectually that the relationship could not continue and still feel pulled back because information is arguing with an image. The conscious mind says, "Look at what happened." The projection answers, "But that cannot be the whole story." So you search for explanations that protect the meaning. They were afraid. They were wounded. The timing was wrong. They loved me but did not know how. Any of these explanations may contain truth. Human behavior is complicated, but explanation becomes captivity when it repeatedly asks you to ignore the outcome. Understanding why someone hurts you does not transform harm into love. Seeing potential does not create willingness. Recognizing a wound does not make you responsible for living inside its consequences. Projection keeps asking what they could become. Reality asks what they repeatedly choose. Projection can be positive or negative. At first, you may project everything beautiful onto someone. Wisdom, purity, courage, destiny. When the idealized image collapses, the psyche can reverse direction. The person who seemed perfect becomes entirely monstrous. Every memory is rewritten. Every tender moment is declared false. Every quality you admired becomes evidence of manipulation. This reversal can feel like clarity, but sometimes it is another projection. The halo becomes a shadow, yet the person remains covered by an image. First, they carried everything you wanted to believe. Now they carry everything you cannot tolerate feeling. This does not mean anger is wrong. Anger may be the emotion that finally protects a violated boundary. It does not mean you must search for goodness in someone who harmed you, reconcile with them, or remain available. It means hatred can also keep you psychologically tied to an image. If they must be completely evil for you to recover, your peace still depends on what they are. The deeper work is not to replace worship with contempt. It is to see enough reality to make a clean decision. A person may have loved you in the limited way they were capable of and still been unsafe for you. They may have been sincere in certain moments and dishonest in others. They may be wounded and still responsible. They may be important but not destined. Human beings are rarely as pure as our longing or as simple as our rage needs them to be. When you feel the image taking over, do not ask whether the connection was meant to be. Ask 4 quieter questions. First, what have they consistently done, not merely said, intended, or promised? A relationship is not built from its most beautiful scene. Look at repetition. How do they behave when disappointed? Do words remain connected to action? Does care survive inconvenience? Second, what happens when I set a reasonable boundary? Do they become curious and respectful, or do they punish, withdraw, ridicule, bargain, or make you responsible for their reaction? Repeated responses to reasonable boundaries can reveal what charm initially conceals. Third, can I be honest here, or am I constantly managing their emotions to preserve the bond? Notice whether you can express needs without rehearsing every sentence. Notice whether closeness gives you more freedom to exist or greater pressure to perform. Fourth, is this connection reciprocal in the present, or is my hope doing most of the work? Not their potential, not the first month, not what they might do after healing. What is being mutually created now? These questions are not supernatural tests. They do not make your body or intuition infallible. Fear can misread safety, and desire can misread danger. Your sensations are information, not final verdicts. Bring them into conversation with observable patterns, time, context, and evidence. The real person is not found in a single feeling. They emerge through repeated contact with reality. In Jungian work, withdrawing a projection is not a dramatic moment in which you suddenly see everything perfectly. It is gradual. You separate the human being from the meanings your unconscious attach to them, one layer at a time. Return to the 3 layers. What is the observable fact? What conclusion did I draw? What emotional meaning did that conclusion carry? Suppose the fact is, they contacted me after 3 weeks of silence. The conclusion might be, they finally realized they love me. The emotional meaning might be, I was not abandoned. I mattered after all. Once separated, the fact becomes smaller, but more usable. They contacted you. That is all you know so far. Time and behavior must reveal the rest. Withdrawing projection does not require denying attraction or becoming cynical. It means allowing new evidence to change the image. It means accepting that a feeling can be meaningful without becoming an instruction. A connection connection can transform you without being capable of continuing. A person can awaken your psyche without being able to share your life. And even after you understand this, the image may return. There will be nights when memory shows you their gentlest expression and removes every contradiction. It will replay the beginning without showing you the end. Do not attack the memory, complete it. When it shows tenderness, remember the patterns surrounding it. When it shows potential, remember the choices that prevented that potential from becoming a relationship. When it shows who they might have become, ask whether that person existed consistently enough to build a life with. This is not bitterness. It is the restoration of context. And context is what projection removes. Try this once, slowly. Write the person's name at the top of a page. Under it, write 3 qualities that made them feel psychologically powerful to you. Perhaps freedom, confidence, tenderness, depth, beauty, permission, aliveness. Beside each quality, complete this sentence. This quality was asking me to. Freedom was asking me to make a decision I kept postponing. Confidence was asking me to speak without apologizing. Tenderness was asking me to stop treating my own needs as an inconvenience. Then write one small action that expresses each quality without requiring access to that person. Not a grand transformation. One action. Send the application. State the boundary. Make the art. Tell the truth. Rest without earning it. The purpose is not to convince yourself that you never loved them. It is to stop leaving your own unlived life inside someone else. They may have opened the door, but the room was inside you. The meaning was real. Its location was wrong. This reclamation can be understood as part of individuation, the ongoing process of becoming more conscious of the forces shaping you and developing a more responsible relationship with them. It is not a final stage. It does not make you immune to projection. No human being sees another with perfect objectivity. We meet people through memory, expectation, culture, fear, and desire. The work continues because the unconscious continues. But consciousness creates a pause between feeling and conclusion. You can say, this attraction is powerful, and I still need to learn who they are. This moment is beautiful, and it does not guarantee a future. I see potential, and I will build only with demonstrated capacity. I love what awakens in me around them, and I will not confuse that awakening with ownership. That pause is freedom. Eventually, the person may appear smaller than the image, but for the first time they can also appear real, limited, contradictory, capable of tenderness in some moments and avoidance in others, perhaps loving in certain ways and incapable in the ways you most needed. Reality is less intoxicating than fantasy. It is also the only place where love can occur. Conscious love does not begin by finding someone with no shadow. It begins when two people are no longer required to remain ideal images for one another. You can admire someone without surrendering judgment. You can feel desire without treating desire as proof of compatibility. You can offer compassion without using compassion to negotiate against your boundaries. You can allow actions to revise your opinion. This love may feel quieter. There is less obsession, less decoding, less emotional vertigo. You are not constantly trying to secure the connection because it is either being built by both people or it is not. Trust grows in proportion to evidence. Intimacy grows in proportion to honesty. Hope remains connected to participation. You no longer ask only what someone awakens in you. You also ask what becomes of you around them. Are you more honest or more performative, more grounded or more preoccupied, more able to speak or increasingly afraid of disturbing the bond? Are you being invited into reality or recruited into maintaining an illusion? These questions do not destroy romance. They protect it from becoming unconscious worship. Perhaps the person you cannot forget never possessed everything you lost. Some of it was yours, your hope, your devotion, your imagined future, your hunger to be witnessed, your unlived courage. You placed these treasures into another human being, then stood outside them begging for access. Now you can begin taking them back, not by denying what you felt, but by recognizing that the relationship and the love may have been real, while reality shared the room with an image. You stop asking reality to restore the fantasy. You stop waiting for someone to become the meaning you assign to them. You grieve the person, the future, and the part of yourself that needed the illusion. Then slowly you meet people without immediately completing them. Silence remains silence. Attraction remains attraction. A beautiful moment can remain beautiful without being forced to predict the next 10 years. You watch what repeats. Trust develops a history. Affection deepens through knowledge. And when love comes again, it does not need to blind you to feel profound. You can see the person, not the rescuer, not the missing piece, not the answer to a wound they did not create. A person, and you can allow yourself to be one too, incomplete, conscious, responsible for your own unlived life. Projection says, you contain what I need to become whole. Conscious love says, I will meet you as you are while taking responsibility for what awakens in me. One turns another human being into a symbol. The other allows them to remain alive. So if you still cannot forget them, do not ask only what was special about them. Ask what became possible inside you when they appeared. Ask what future they represented. Ask which part of yourself you placed in their hands. Then bring that part home, because sometimes the person you miss was real, but the perfection, the rescue, the destiny, the completed future, that was the meaning. And the meaning was always trying to lead you back to yourself. If you are ready to reclaim one part of yourself from an old projection, leave just one word in the comments. The quality you are taking back. Subscribe to Mind Dose for more on the hidden patterns shaping who we love, fear, and become.